All right, hi everybody. I'm Kim Keckley, and I am the culinary stage producer for Bottle Rock, and I've produced the culinary stage every year that we've had it. So with this is working on our 11th year. And I'm here today to answer some of your questions from our Bottle O questions. Okay. So, which culinary stage guest were you most excited to work with? This is a hard one because I love chefs and I love all the chefs that we work with, but I was probably most excited and most nervous to work with Gordon Ramsay. He sort of has this reputation for, being a little hard on people, and I was, I went into it like fully expecting him to call me a donkey sandwich and, to be terrible and hard to work with, but he was lovely. And he was actually super nervous because, if you kind of imagine chefs are normally in front of like a studio audience and they don't have to necessarily be in front of a live crowd. And so he was nervous. He was definitely like, holy smokes, there's, thousands of people here to see me. And it was kind of endearing. It was actually really sweet. And one of the things too, when you work with a chef that's like at the level of Gordon Ramsay, is that you don't get a chance to actually speak with him directly beforehand. And so his team sent us 5 different recipes and asked us to prep all of them, without a lot of input and a lot of direction. And you can imagine, on a culinary stage, you have to prepare the recipes to like different levels of doneness. And so we had this like speed rack full of trays of his food. And it was like, here's step 1, here's step 1 and 2, here's step 1, 2, 3. And he looked at it and I was so nervous and was shaking. And he told me, "You're quite organized." And that was like probably the best moment that I've ever had of, working with a chef at a culinary stage. Which culinary stage guest was the most fun? Again, it's hard to, kind of like say this because they've all, been fun in their own unique ways. And year after year, you start to become friends with these people, especially the chefs that come back year after year. But I would say in terms of like overall excitement and just general enthusiasm and makes you feel like you're having the best time of your life has got to be Jose Andres. He's just this ball of energy, and he's such a lovely person, and he's completely thoughtful, and he took the time out of his day to like spend a half an hour talking to my mom, who is also a chef, and she's the reason why I became a chef. And he sat with her and talked with her, and he just is like constantly finding things to do that are fun, including things which oftentimes make it hard to get him from place to place, because he wants to stop and talk to the vendors who are making wood-fired pizzas, and then he wants to try to make his own pizza, and then he can't walk past the back of house kitchens without stopping and saying hello to everybody. And so you're kind of sometimes trying to like pull him towards the stage and say, "All right, Jose, we gotta go, we gotta do this." So he's like the most overall enthusiastic just person, let alone chef, that's like kind and lovely and generous with his time. So what is the most delicious creation you've ever tried from the stage? That's probably, we've done it a couple times now. So we've done the breakdown of a large bluefin tuna. Chef Morimoto, he actually has a Guinness Book of World Records for the fastest breakdown of a 200-pound fish. And that's like a real treat, right? Because you've got Iron Chef Morimoto slicing this beautiful, amazing tuna that's actually sustainably raised in Japan. So we get it from a purveyor that, his company has recommended to us. And so we always buy from the same purveyor. And then, to be able to have a slice of the belly from that fish is probably one of, the most special moments. But really, every chef that we put on the stage is amazing in their own right. So I've been lucky enough to have food from, Jose Andres and from the Voltaggio brothers always do amazing, delicious creations. And even in fact, they're the type of chef that the treatment of their food ends up taking a long time. So they will oftentimes pack coolers and ship their own things in from their restaurant, so it'll travel from great distances to get all the way to us in Napa. And then I think there was a couple years ago that Michael Mina made this lobster pot pie, which was one of the most delicious things that I'd ever eaten. And I was lucky enough to try that, and that was super special. So I often get asked who is like my dream chef. And so the question is, which celebrity would you love to see on the stage in the future? And there's a little bit of history and like precedence for this, so it may seem silly, but my dream chef would be the Swedish Chef from the Muppets. So I just think there's some context. So the Muppets have done live performances before in the past, and I grew up like sort of, that was my sort of introduction to chefs as a very, very young person. But I just love the idea. I think it would be super silly and super fun, and we would definitely figure out a way to make it work, right? So I know that, you have to do certain like back of house and stage theatrics, but yeah, the Swedish Chef would be my dream chef. Have you ever had a dish go hilariously wrong on stage? Luckily, I work with, chefs. We work with chefs that are such professionals. The chefs that we have are all really good at this kind of situation. They are used to, things, maybe something drops or something breaks or something goes a little wrong. But I would say the biggest, probably the biggest thing that went wrong was when we attempted a Guinness Book of World Records with Alice Cooper and Chef Andrew Zimmern. And so we attempted the largest quantity of rubber chickens being simultaneously thrown on stage at once. And it is an existing record, and so we were trying to beat the record. So we brought in 3,000 rubber chickens and passed them out to the crowd, and we got everyone hyped up and excited about it. And I think that the reason why it didn't actually go off as planned is that this program was the last program of the day, and so it was at 7:30, and our audience, bless them, bless their hearts, probably had imbibed a little bit too much by that point in the day, and so we were unable to get them to release and throw all the chickens at once as one unit. And so, unfortunately, the Guinness Book of World Record folks are, they're great, amazing to work with, and our adjudicator was there with us, and unfortunately, he could not give us the award because the chickens were thrown in a too staggered of a way. And so they were not all released at once. All 3,000 of them still came at the stage in varying degrees of, velocity. But unfortunately, because it was not all at once, we did not get that Guinness title. So, lesson learned, if we're going to do audience participation with Guinness Book of World Records attempts, earlier in the day is the move. So, oh man. What is the most chaotic thing that you've been involved in backstage on the culinary stage? So there's a lot of chaos backstage at the culinary stage. We have these programs that are 30 minutes long, and there's an hour changeover. So anytime there's like a large group involved in one that then needs to clear, and then another group needs to come up, can be pretty chaotic. And we do oftentimes involve other teams or other groups like dancers, or we've had the USC marching band back there. And so there's, lots of people moving in a, sort of a small space, and that can be chaotic. But I have to say, truly backstage, the biggest reaction we get, and some of the most dramatic reactions, are when the athletes come. And so, I think it was a few years back, and I watched grown men weep and actually cry at the opportunity to meet some of these athletes, and, just sort of shockingly, like, stop an athlete, cry, tell some story about how when, they did something or caught a ball or hit a home run, it changed their life forever. And it's really always a little bit surprising to me to see, grown men absolutely lose their minds at getting to meet some of their athlete heroes. Which chef has had the biggest backstage entourage? So that's kind of interesting because we actually have a little bit of the opposite situation with chefs in that they don't do music festivals, right? So they are not, they don't travel with tour managers. They don't have like the, infrastructure that a band would have, right? So we sort of do the reverse. So we oftentimes will have a massive celebrity chef show up by themselves or with their wife or with their husband, and then sort of show up on site and not understand how a music festival operates. And so we actually then turn and become their de facto touring partner, right? So we have a team of artist relations folks, and we have a support team. The culinary stage team is massive, and we sort of de facto end up being their touring partners in that way. We end up being their stage manager. We end up being the ones who show them around site and tour them around, show them where they can go and where they can't go. Because if you can imagine, a celebrity chef will show up at a food and wine festival and they are the headliner and they're the one who everyone recognizes, and so they can kind of walk around and do whatever they want to. Whereas at a music festival, this is a much bigger scale. We have tens of thousands of people there, plus security and all sorts of ways that they need to, avenues that they need to walk around and where they need to go. And so, generally speaking, the chefs show up with really just their families or really just the people that they're going to hang out with over the weekend. So not huge entourages. Ooh, this is a good one. What is the most iconic pairing you've seen on the culinary stage? Wow, we've had some really iconic pairings on the culinary stage. I think it's kind of hard to beat the last couple years. We've had Jose Andres with Bradley Cooper and Steph Curry, and that was sort of in support of Bradley Cooper, who has a cheesesteak company, and then Steph Curry, who has his own bourbon, and Jose Andres kind of, mixed the two and ended up making his version of a cheesesteak alongside Bradley, and then they drank Steph's bourbon along with it, and now even that led to like a lasting partnership, and now Jose Andres and Steph Curry are working on a bourbon together. So that's, the iconic nature of it lives on even today. I think last year it was really special to see Kristen Kish on stage with Anthony Kiedis. They ended up chatting on the phone beforehand and getting to know each other on site as well, and just hit it off like gangbusters, and they became fast friends, and they really shared a lot in common, the way that they see food and they see life like holistically. They both love, exercising, but doing things in a mindful way, and that was really special. I think one of the things that really kicked it off for the culinary stage was back when we did the world's largest paradise cocktail, which also known as a gin and juice. And that was with Michael Voltaggio and Snoop Dogg and Warren G. And I think that was, sort of set the bar for what we want to achieve every year. And those guys are even still friends to this day, right? So still communicate with each other. So anything like that. I also we also love it when they know each other in advance, right? So if they already have a friendship, Action Bronson and Andrew Zimmern were friends before they were on stage together. And you can really see that when the program happens, right? If they know each other and they're already friends, they have a rapport, and it leads to like just a much lovelier, nicer program when that's possible to happen. So also Serena Williams and Trisha Yearwood, that was great. We love that too because, Trisha and Serena, it's just like powerhouse women on stage. And then Serena's daughter, Olympia, we weren't really sure if she would want to come out on stage if she would get nervous in front of the crowd, and that she just charged out there as confident as can be and just joined them and made food alongside them. So that was amazing to see too. Okay, next question. Who is the nicest culinary stage guest you've worked with? They're actually, again, all pretty lovely and nice. It's sort of a rarity to not meet someone nice and enthusiastic, especially, the folks that we work with, we really have gotten to know over the last few years. I think I told the story, but Jose Andres is probably the loveliest, nicest human. I have become really good friends with the Voltaggio brothers in getting to them over the years, but they're all genuinely lovely people. Jose Andres, I think, is remarkable because he's very interested in people and very interested in people's stories. So he will stop and chat with anyone, and he wants to take pictures, and he's very inquisitive. And so he asks, if we're walking him past a row of vendors, he always wants to check in and say, "Hey chef, what are you making?" Or "Hey chef, what are you doing here?" And he's just very interested in learning people's stories. So I think he's probably the most engaging out of all the chefs that we work with. But even athletes, celebrities, they're all sort of, I think that we do a nice job of creating an environment that lends itself to being friendly, right? So the culinary stage, it feels very special. One, that the festival team really puts a lot of hard work into creating kind of a safe environment for everyone to get to know each other and for everyone to enjoy the festival. I think Bottle Rock is unique in the sense that we view the festival as a food and wine event within a music festival. And so I think that translates to the celebrity chefs, right? So they can tell how much not only the team at the culinary stage cares, but the wider team as well, from food and beverage to decor, to the way that we lay things out, to the way that we, have them interacting with the other talent. We really treat anyone that's on the culinary stage with the same level of respect and importance to the festival that we would a headliner on a music stage. And I think that environment creates a situation where everyone feels welcome, which, we're really proud of for sure. So, all right. What is the secret sauce to pairing the right artist with the right chef? Wow. So, a lot goes into planning the culinary stage. I think one of the things that we do really early on in the process is that, sort of the order of operations is the music lineup gets booked and then announced, and then we really start to truly work in earnest on the culinary stage lineup. And then we often work on the pairings and the exact programming, close to the festival, right? Up, in the weeks leading up to the festival, we're still sort of ironing out the details of the programming, and then what the dishes are going to be and sort of the run of show. One of the things that we do a really good job of is we engage the entire team for their feedback. So we ask, our teammates to tell us what they know about the music artists and if they have any relationship to food, or we look at song titles, we look at, a sense of place where the bands are from, if there's something about their, touring patterns or touring behaviors that might be interesting to talk about on stage. And then we sort of work the chefs into that as well. We always look to see if there's a previous relationship between the chef and a musician on stage, or an athlete, or, some other celebrity that happens to be coming to the festival as well. And so that ends up being somewhere in the middle of all that is where the secret sauce ends up being. And we certainly get, lots of ideas from the chefs that we book to do the culinary stage, but really the secret sauce is the collaboration, right? That it's we sit in a room and we have these conversations. We sort of look at each other and say, "Is that funny? Or does that sound like a good idea?" And then we rely on feedback and sort of this energy that you get from, incorporating a lot of different points of view. And Um, Again, I'm not the biggest sports fan. And so oftentimes I'll have, somebody explain to me why this athlete has this catch that, or whatever, or some sort of play that has a food pun. And now I have given a little bit of context as to why this would work, or, having people who have a lot of perspective about the musicians and are really passionate about different bands and understand, oh, this band has music and, it's influenced by Brazilian artists, and also they're from Sweden. And then there's this other, underlaying, like one of their touring partners is actually from Iceland, and all of a sudden it tells a story, right? So there's some of that. And then again, the previous relationships that chefs may have with artists. I think that, more and more we're seeing that kind of engagement where, whether it's through like a charitable dinner or through some sort of other endeavor, maybe they both support, a cause that they both feel passionate about. So we really do like a deep dive into everyone in the music lineup, as well as the chefs, as well as, again, other, athletes, especially from the Bay Area, or celebrities who might be interested in attending Bottle Rock. So, but again, I'd say that the secret sauce is lots and lots of input, and then, you throw 100 good ideas at the wall and then one happens to stick. That's really the best way. What is the funniest moment you've seen on the culinary stage? I guess kind of the most surprising thing, funniest, that I actually laughed out loud was Derek Huff standing on an ostrich egg, and it didn't break. It actually stayed whole. That was pretty amazing. What is the craziest request you've had from a chef in preparation for their set? Lots of crazy things. I think craziest ingredient is maybe, Santa Barbara sea urchins. We had to send a diver out to get them for us in Santa Barbara because the season was just open. Another crazy ingredient was for a program for Andrew Zimmern, where he had us do hearts of palm, and we had to source a edible heart of palm plant, which I'm not sure if you guys know this, but there are thousands of kinds of palm trees, and so finding the right one that was edible was hard. What's your favorite "we pulled it off" story from the culinary stage? I think that has to be the world's largest paradise cocktail, aka the world's largest gin and juice. Pretty proud of pulling that one off. It was hard to do. 550 liters of cocktail. Okay, so what's the biggest uh-oh moment that turned into a great save? I think actually the pairing between Andrew Zimmern and Duran Duran. Andrew Zimmern is sort of known for being like the bizarre foods chef, and so he always wants to do interesting game meats or fish, and we paired him with Duran Duran, who asked for a vegetarian meal, and that was a little bit of a oops on our part. And then Andrew Zimmern saved the day by doing this amazing program where he harvested hearts of palm from a live palm tree and turned it into this very truly iconic Andrew Zimmern moment, and still had a vegetarian meal at the end of it. What's a pairing that didn't make sense on paper but ended up being magic? It's hard to think about. This is kind of an interesting one. So we had Adam Richman paired with The Far Side years and years ago, and they didn't have any idea of really who Adam Richman was, but Adam is a huge hip-hop head, and he surprised The Far Side on stage by rapping their music to them, and he did it so well and so proficiently that they invited him to join them for their set on the second stage later that day. Which celebrity or chef do you think has had the most fun on stage? It's going to be Jose Andres again. But I think to the point of the Gordon Ramsay, because he was so nervous starting the program, and he was didn't really realize how big of a live audience it was going to be. Seeing him after the fact, and he was just so amped and so jazzed. And, we heard anecdotally later on that evening, he went out downtown and like kept all the bars open downtown Napa because he was just so amped and so excited to be on stage. So, what would be your dream pairings in the future? Mentioned the Swedish chef from the Muppets is my dream chef, and I would love to have Missy Elliott on stage. I think that she's my pie in the sky musician that I'd like to have on stage. Yeah. Ooh, any hints that I can offer about who will be on the stage this year? No hints. Oh, how far in advance do you plan the sets and pairings for the stage? We start the day after the show. Truly, we get ideas from the chefs as they leave the stage as to what they would like to do next year. So we're lucky that we get to, work on it year round, but truly we start programming after the music lineup is announced, and we kick off our first set of meetings right after the music lineup is announced. Who's more competitive, chefs or artists? Chefs. 100%. Hands down, chefs. So competitive. Competitive with each other. Competitive. Very competitive. Which culinary stage guest had the highest standards? Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart had the highest standard. What's the most surprising skill or talent an artist has shown on stage? I think, again, Derek Huff from Dancing with the Stars was on stage, and his surprising skill is that he can balance on an ostrich egg without having it break. It was wildly impressive. Not surprising to me. I think one of the funniest things or most interesting programs end up being where we ask athletes to do very physical things that are second nature to chefs. And so we did have, some professional football players tossing pizza dough with a world champion pizza tossing champion. I think he'd won this record 11 times. And then to see professional athletes try to mimic what comes so naturally to him is always really funny. The things that are like physical but second nature to a chef, and then asking a professional athlete to do it always ends up being like a really good juxtaposition. So watching a chef trying to, break down the tuna with Morimoto is always kind of entertaining to see. So what do I think makes a culinary stage pairing a good fit? I think, that one's hard to. I think maybe just having a good attitude and understanding that it's entertainment, and that, not to take things too seriously. That always makes it a good fit, because it's meant to be fun and entertaining. It's meant to be, this little joyous moment that you get in between musical acts. And somebody with an open mind, it's always great if they know each other in advance, but we often see that, like-minded individuals that are game to doing something that's a little silly ends up being the best pairings. So. Well, thank you guys so much for asking all these great questions. And if you guys have any input on who you'd like to see on the culinary stage, let us know in the comments. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in 2026.